One, we have to be able to monitor the public policy process. We really have to be able to participate, to see into it transparently, and to hold accountable those who are making decisions about whether this is a wise thing to do in the first place. There needs to be broad public debate about it. Second, the design process once the decision has been made. The parties in civil society need to be able to see into and have input into the design process. What's the requirements? Because an election in one country is not the same as an election in another, and an election next year is not the same as an election this year. A local election is not the same as a national election. And all of these requirements have to be changed to meet the needs of the specific election. There has to be inclusiveness and transparency so that there can be accountability about the design process. A new avenue and a very important area that this brings up is the ability to monitor the procurement process. How contracts are drawn, how competition and bidding is done, how the contracts are awarded, and whether in those contracts there really is accountability. Because in so many countries we've seen that companies have not fulfilled the requirements, have not delivered the machines on time, have delivered machines that break down under the national conditions, are not able to repair and keep them up, and there's no consequences for them. So we really need to open up and monitor the procurement process, which is not just about elections. Ultimately, it can be about a lot of governmental procurement issues. There needs to be some sort of a participation and certification and testing. As you said, those things have to be public. Not just go off in a corner and do them privately and make the results public, which often the results are not detailed enough, but there needs to be some sort of insight and participation in that process. Fifth, there does need to be some sort of a college of experts that includes civil society and political party appointments that can look into these things and be able to report on them, blue ribbon commissions and so on. On election day, there's still a role for monitors. You didn't mention that in the Philippines, the Election Commission argued at one point that there wasn't really a need for NAMFREL to monitor the elections this time because what happened in the polling station would be electronic. There needs to be people in the polling station to be sure that the machines work, that the procedures are followed. You can't look into the technology and all be IT experts, but we can determine whether things are happening properly in the polling station. And then the seventh thing, which I mentioned and you mentioned, is that audits need to be done. There needs to be in the law a random statistical sample drawn of polling stations. The machines need to be audited on the spot. There need to be mechanisms to have recounts in the polling station, and the results of polling stations need to be disaggregated so that people can verify using some of the old techniques that we've used and developing new techniques to go along with it. So that's my summary based upon what you've said and based upon what Vladimir and myself and others have looked at over the years. And whether there are other participants who are going to come in, I'm turning to Megan, who's really running the show, even though she's not on the camera.
Hello. I'm sorry, I just wanted to speak now because unfortunately I will not be able to be here much longer. And it's a very interesting debate for us, especially as we are in Romania. There are several discussions about modifying electoral legislation, about the informatization of the electoral process, and also a discussion about electronic voting and online voting. And it's good to hear that there is experience from which we can draw on. And I would like to raise two questions, two issues that relate more to voting than to the electoral administration process. And I don't know if some of you probably already know, Germany has decided that electronic voting is against the constitution, their constitution of course, because there are certain aspects that cannot be observed, that cannot be monitored. So the first issue is, the first question is if there is something that has been given a wider thought, and if there are solutions to this, in addition to what Pat already mentioned, open source software, experts, and monitoring of the source code. And the second issue that we faced here in Romania was that in the situation where online voting would be possible, the general, I would say, a large consensus that among electoral actors here in Romania is that that would actually make vote buying a lot easier, because all you need to vote is a laptop with an internet connection. So you can just put your laptop in the middle of the woods and then have people voting off your laptop. So it actually makes it harder to identify it, since people don't have to go to the polling station. You can't really see how many are going there to vote and how many are paid. So again, if there are any thoughts or any ideas that could help make things better, not worse, with electronic or online voting. Thank you very much.